Hey, can everybody hear me okay? Just want to do a quick check. So, my name is Kate Quinn, and I'm a Janome National Educator, and I'm super excited to be able to be back and play with the SMP Nation. So, I've already shared a couple of great things about the M6 before. I've chosen a few different features that we're going to try this time. So, just come along with me and let's go look at the machine. I'll tell you a little bit about the important features that it has, and then we'll go ahead and show you some of the great feet that come with it and some of the features that it can do so you can have more fun playing with it. All right, so Kyle, can you put me back on the sewing machine? Thanks, dear. So this is this fabulous Janome Continental M6. So the first thing that you can see right away when you look at it is this amazing size. I'm telling you, for years, I sewed on a little bitty machine with a little bitty throat, and I'm a big quilter, so this is so awesome to have this big heart. The space here is about 13.5 inches, and then what you'll see here is almost 17 with that front to back spacing. Just get a lot of space in there to work with. You know, this whole area is really big. And I think in your front to back space, it's not like having an extension table, but it's pretty big. I mean, look at how wide that is. That's probably about 8 inches from front to back there. So almost 17 here, 13.5 here, and then about 8 front to back. So a lot of room for projects, a lot of ability to really do well with just about anything. The other thing is that this machine is very tall right here. So the lighting illuminates the whole area, the full space. It's really fabulous. I mean, look at that, right? You can see it. And there's also lighting right here in the needle area. The other thing that's really unique about this design is when I look at this machine right here, this is the housing for threading, of course. And then look right here, it's cut in. So as I'm sitting and I'm looking down into the needle right there, I can really see the needle and the foot and the area where I'm working. So that's super important. You know, we all, as I'm getting older, I definitely feel like I'm struggling a little bit more with vision, and being able to have that lighting and that cutaway so there's no obstruction. I don't have to like scooch in there and get down under and everything else. I can see really well. So here you can just see that amazing lighting. The other thing that I want to mention that's pretty obvious right here is that the screen is right in front of the workspace. It's not over here off to the side. So whenever I need to do something, it's really close to the workspace. So I don't have to fight with it or be complicated. One of the unique features about Janome is that they always keep their standard functional buttons pretty much the same. So if you're moving up and you're looking for a machine that has that bigger throat, better lighting, easier threading, but you don't want to start with a whole new platform, Janome's buttons are going to pretty much stay the same. There's some things here on the screen I'll share, but these are pretty much the same throughout their lineup. So very, very easy to use. I'm going to mention really quickly, you know, as we have people that have maybe arthritis or feet problems or mobility challenges or whatever, the button is a nice feature. This wasn't available years and years ago. If I want to use this button for sewing, I would unplug the foot control. So if I press it right now and my foot control is plugged in, I'll just show you. It's like, hello, take off that foot control. So whenever you see this sign, if you want to use this button, just follow the directions. And if you don't, just close it, like if you touch it accidentally or whatever. So this is going to start the machine, and stop would be pressing it again. Okay. All right. So let's get in a little closer. I'm going to just move the camera so we can look a little tighter at this awesome viewing screen here. So how is that, you guys? Can you see that okay? A nice clear view for you? Or do you want me to get in closer? What do you think? So right on this side, you're seeing what stitch is selected. So of course, I'm on my utility stitches. Each one of these little gray buttons, they don't look like a button, but they're a button. Think of it as a file folder. This one, this is the buttonhole file folder, decorative stitches, ABCs, tapering function, And the little t-shirt is a collection, and we'll play with this in just a little bit, but let's just start right here. So if I wanted to, I can just move over and go to another stitch. And the stitches tell you what's happening. This shows that the stitch is preset for right in the middle. This is going to do a little bar tacking at the top and at the end if you want that. This one will have the little dot, which shows you the reinforcing stitches. And this number 5, you can see 3 lines of stitching. Well, that's because you're going to have a triple stitch. 1, 2, 3, and then go forward. 1, 2, 3, go forward. So the pictures try to illuminate and give you information about what's happening. So you can see with this zigzag, the stitching will be in the middle. This will be left justified. This one will be focused on the right position and zigzag from there. And you can see right here, these arrows are telling us I got one of 41 pages of all of these stitches right there. And if I'm not sure where I want to go, and I just want to look at them all really fast, just go like that. I can also select from here. So if I just touch one, it'll just pick the stitch that I want. Janome wants to make it easy for you to find what you want and not make it super complicated. Now, right now, I told you for stitch number 1, the needle's right in the center here. This is 4.5. The reason that 4.5 is really important is that this is a 9mm stitch width, which means that right here, when the needle's in the center, 4.5 is the middle. So maybe you want to change that. Or if I want to change my stitch length, which is set at 2.4. When it's black, these are the defaults. And then when I go in here, I can make changes. Anytime I make a change, it's going to change the color so that I'll know that it's different. This is tension, presser foot, pressure, and then right here, this will be if we're using our AccuFeed Flex. So one of the important features about the M6 is that the M6 has a lot of potential that you can exploit, but you don't necessarily have to get everything all at once. So maybe if you want this, this would be an optional feature for the M6. And what that does is it's a box feed where it grabs the whole fabric and it advances the whole stitch, the whole machine, not the machine, the fabric, all at once in a cycle. So this type of dual feed is very, very effective and a great accessory to have. So this is something that would be an added accessory option, but you can't add it if the machine doesn't have the power to do it. So that is what the M6 is so great about. It's a very customizable machine that lets you select the features that you want, but it has the power to do most of the machine features that we have on our top of the line Janomes. Okay, so this is called the setting window. I'm just going to recap real quick. To close it, just press the arrow, and to open it here, press the triangle. This is going to be available for every stitch that we have there. You can make whatever changes or customize the stitch. And this button is default. So say we make a change, this is going to bring it right back. And then down here, FS stands for favorite stitch. So if you're working on this project and I need my stitch length there to be 2.2 and I need my needle position some other position, I can actually save that as a favorite stitch. I could even name it right here. And then once I save it, every time I come back to my machine, I can just call up that favorite stitch by name and use it until that project is finished. And then when I'm done, if I don't need it anymore, I can just clear it and it'll delete whichever one that I select. Okay, so let's close this. We've talked a little bit about these screens, but now I want to show you some of the fabulous feet. There's 17 different feet that come with this machine, so there's a lot of power and potential that it has. And we're going to both show you some stuff on the screen and then show you that sewing feature and how it works so that you can play around with it a little bit and see what the potential is. Okay, so let's start off with something that we often need to do. So let's get in a little bit closer to the machine. I'm going to bring my camera down just a little bit. So if you get dizzy easy, just close your eyes for a second so we can get in a little closer to the machine itself where we'll be sewing. I'll try to show both of the camera, the screen and the sewing at the same time, but sometimes that can be a little tricky to do one or the other. So I hope you'll be patient with me. So I've prepared a little piece right here. all I did is I just stitched this and then I just flipped it over. And what we're going to do real quick is we're going to top stitch. So this would be simulating a finished edge on a garment. And once we have this hem, we want to make sure that we have this firmly stitched down. So let me show you on the screen real quick. We're going to use this t-shirt button. We haven't really showed it very much, but I'm going to start working with some of these t-shirt features. I'm going to press it. When you look at these are also tabs right here, and you can see when we touch them, they're nice and sensitive. This first one is all kinds of sewing features. So we just mentioned that we want to do top stitch, so we'll touch that one. And right now it's set for 4.5, and I actually want to move my needle a lot closer. So you'll see I'm just going to bring it up to about 8 or so, maybe a little bit more, because I want a narrow top stitch on there. This is how easy it is to move the needle position. And if you look at the screen right there, you can see it's moved it over for us, right? So very, very easy to see what is happening when I make changes. Now, this has got a very wide top stitch. It's 3. I don't want mine to be that wide. So I'm going to just make some changes. I'm going to go to 2.2. Okay, and again, this is your choice. You get to decide what things look like. So let's get in now to the sewing area, and we'll show you that. I'm going to line it up. My basic foot, my standard foot that comes with this machine has a little bit of a clear area right here, and I'm going to line it up right on the gap between the metal so that I can keep it nice and even, right? And then that top stitch is just going to sew a little bit away from that. So let me get my foot control closer to me. I'm a little bit far away from it. And here we go. Let's just start sewing. So this machine does sew faster, but I don't want it going crazy. I want to guide my top stitch, so I have it set a little bit slower just to have a nice, pretty, controlling stitch. If I was patchworking, maybe I would sew faster, but for top stitching, I really want that control. So then here's my scissor button. I'll just cut that and I'll bring it up. Let's see if you can put some light on it so you can see it better. There you go. So pretty, nice and even, very clean. I've got a little decorative thread in here. Now, you see I got some markings right here. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change the foot. I'm going to put the buttonhole foot on. I've already got the button in it. And I'm just going to show you how I'm going to line up, and I'll just sew a couple buttonholes real quick. That's a standard foot that very often comes with most Janome machines because that's a very common sewing feature. So just like we showed you before on the screen, when you want to navigate to other areas, just close this. And we want to go back to the buttonhole. So we were in this sewing applications tab. And now we'll just walk over here and we'll just press the buttonhole. Now it has a memorized buttonhole. You can do that. What that means is you would mark the buttonhole and you just press a button when you get to the end, and then it'll finish the buttonhole for you and it'll remember that. So it'll make it easy to make the buttonholes exactly the same size. The one that I'm going to share is where you put the actual button right in there. And then you just snap it down just like that. Just press those two pieces together and the button is now sized so the machine will know what the size is. And then it's got some adjustments right here, the little L and S. So if your button's really fat top to bottom and you need a little more opening space, this is where you can make those adjustments. It's always recommended that you would test the buttonhole on a scrap before you would sew it right on your project. So that way you can make all these adjustments before you do the buttonhole on your garment. Now I want to just flip it over really quick. So this is the stabilizer plate. I'll just see if I can show you. It just sits on there, and these are actually two different pieces, and you're going to slide the fabric under there, and that helps the fabric all move together to make fabulous buttonholes. So let's get in a little closer to our buttonhole area. We'll get over here and come back down so you can see it. Okay. And I'm going to change the feet. So easy to do on this machine. Just reach back and just press the button. This is my utility foot right there. And then I'll just put that to the side. So this part goes this way. Oh, I guess I need to come from this side. Here we go, lower the foot. And it snapped in place really well. So one thing I want to do when I'm doing buttonholes, I'm just gonna stick this in there real quick, is I want that thread to come off to the side. So I'm just gonna do needle down and up quickly before I even start the button. And then just pull this. Oh, I didn't take enough of a stitch. Let me get a little more of a stitch in there. Okay, here we go. So just pull that out, and this way I can try to grab those threads and get them underneath. Oh, it's being super ornery right now. I think I'll take another stitch so it'll actually do a little knot there. Okay, what I'm trying to do is just get it to grab that thread so it'll be down through there. That way I don't have that thread hanging over the top while I'm trying to do my work. Okay, so put that underneath and we'll just let this line up. I've marked some dots and the dots are showing me the button alignment. So I'm going to line it up right on the dot. So right there. And it's straight right here. I'm aligning it right on the edge right there. And this is holding everything, keeping it right in place. Now, before I start, I've got a little lever right here that I'm just going to pull down. And this is what's guiding the size of the button. And what I'm going to do real quick is I'm actually going to just let the machine do its work itself. So I'm going to unplug my foot control. And that way, the machine can sort of take over and do its own thing. And I don't have to do anything. So I'll just hold to guide and we'll just press the button. All right. I think because I played with it, it was trying to tell me, hey, are you starting? Are you not starting? So there it just hit the bumper. It's doing a bar tack. And as it sewed down, it put a stabilizing stitch. And then when it comes back to the top, it's going to do the bar tack at the top. Now my button is pretty small, so I can just pull that up and we'll just show it to you on the camera. So I would trim this thread. It is sewn over, but look at how pretty that is. Let's see if we can get a good view here. Can't be too close, right? Very, very pretty. So this is a decorative thread. I just had it in there, but it looks kind of fun, huh? And then here's the back, and you can just see it's really, really easy. That wasn't complicated. And then what I would do as I'm sewing is I'm just lining it up at the next dot, at the next dot, at the next dot. And one thing to remember when you're sewing the buttonholes is it's going to start at the dot and it's going to sew that way. So that's just something important when you're marking and making sure that you have enough space so you don't sew into your previous buttonhole. So really a great feature, super easy to use, and there's so many different buttonholes on here. Look at this. I'll just show you. You can even do corded buttonholes, keyhole buttonholes. This is the one that you would do if you're doing the memorization, and that's the one where you would touch the button. I'll just do that. You pull the button holder down, and as it sews, it'll memorize that, and then you can just get exactly the size that you want. So if you knew you needed like a 2-inch or this, you could actually measure it all. Super easy to use. Okay, so we've shown you a couple of features on each of the tabs. So we used just the general purpose foot and we did some top stitching with our sewing applications. And now we've shown you the buttonhole. So let me go ahead and share some of our next features that we have. If you're a quilter, well, let's see, we're going to do something else before we do that. Okay, if you're a quilter, yes, I am a quilter. So this is a cute little mug rug, but you can see right there the edge isn't finished. So I'm going to just show you how we can use a really cool feature and foot that's included, and we'll just put a decorative stitch. Before we do that, I want to get the machine ready, so I'm going to show you a couple of things that I've got set up. So let's come up on the top real quick. I need to come up there so you can see better. So let me tighten up the camera. All right, and just lock it in place. Otherwise, it has a mind of its own. So you can see that I have a really tall thread stand. Isn't that so great? Look how big it is. It's really tall. Okay, so these are all of the threading instructions right here. If you ever forget, it's really easy. And I just wanted to show you something real quick. I was ready to do my bobbin, but I'm just going to take it off because I want to show you. When you put your bobbin on, okay, twist it until you hear the snap. I just heard the click. And then when you wind it, just wrap it around a few times like this. That click helps secure its position on the post. And then when I tighten that, there is a little cutter right in this little slot. So it's holding that thread. So now when the bobbin starts winding, it won't just go crazy. So then just slide that over and your separate motor is right here. So just press the button and you can see it's already winding so easy, so smooth, no trouble. Oh, I love that. It's so great. Now I am going to let this finish winding because when we use this edge foot, it's got a lot of thread it's going to use. So we want to make sure that we go ahead and put enough thread on there so that it can actually do it. And then I'll show you, I'm going to change the foot. So I'm going to start taking my buttonhole foot off, but I'll show you the foot that we're going to be using. All right, I think that's probably good enough. So just like that. And then if you take it off, that little cutter that we just talked about, I can just use that. And right there, I've cut it. And I'm going to also show you something about this cool cutter right here later. This was something one of the educators shared with me, and I'm going to show you how we're going to use it a little bit later. So 2 thread stands, you can have one for bobbin and one for threading. We're already threaded up. And I'm just going to wrap up this bobbin thread just so it doesn't get stuck on anything. I think it's always good. We don't want loose threads dangling around. Okay, since we're doing the threading, I do want to show you the thread path real quick. How many of you guys know that whenever we're threading with Janome, we want to make sure and lock our machine? So we have a special button for that. It's right here, okay? And also, this is where you can change your throat plate. So we're going to do that a little later, but we got to thread with this new thread. So I'm locking it. That opens up the tension discs and gets me ready for this threading process. Okay, that just helps you make sure that you know everything's open. It's a process where we can repeat that action and we know we're going to get a good result. So just follow the path. This machine has an advanced needle threader. It makes it so easy to use. So I've got it right there through the top guides, and now we'll just scoot down to the lower guides. Okay, everything is numbered. It's very easy. This is number 4. So let me grab it here. Put it in number 4, down. There's number 5, number 6, and I'll just hold it real quick. It seemed like it had a little mind of its own there, right there. And then there's a guide right above the needle right there. Then this little number 9, I call him the alligator. Let the alligator bite the thread and then cut it off. This holds that thread so that when I do my threading, I should easily be able to do it. If for any reason this doesn't work, it might be that your needle is in the wrong position. So sometimes it's a good idea to just needle up, down, make sure the needle's in the right spot. For me, it threaded up perfectly. So now just make sure you take that lock off, okay? Sometimes when we're kind of on this page and the lock is showing, people are like, oh, what do I do? I broke it. No, this is just your lock, just the key, and it will open it and you'll be ready to go. Okay, so we're going to put on this foot. This is our woven overedge foot. Let's see if we can get a better view of it. There's a picture of it. Let's go to the settings on the machine. Thanks for being patient as we're moving back and forth. You know, we are trying to get you in so you could be nice and close so you could see what you want to see. But sometimes that can be a challenge to see everything. So here's our t-shirt. So here's all of these features. And right over here, you can see overedge woven, overedge knit, overedge heavy. So I don't think we need heavy, but I'll just show you if you have, this is the edge of your quilt and you wanted a lot of stitching, this will actually stiffen up the border edge of your quilt. So right here, I could overedge that. And then when I put the binding on, it helps have a little rigidity here. So when the binding flips, I can get a nice, sturdy, even look on there. So I do use over edging for quilting. It's really great, makes your binding look fabulous. But we'll just go ahead and go back and we'll just show you this basic over edge woven. You can see right here at the top, it tells you exactly what foot that you should be using. So I've got my M. I'm going to go ahead and put it on, get it locked in place. Okay, perfect. And then I've got everything set up. So this will be pink all the way around. It's a matching thread. and then we need to change that bobbin that we made. Okay. All right, here's our bobbin, and we'll just put that in real quick. And the reason I did want to change the bobbin is if you're going to do that, color matters. Do I want to have white over edging on the back side and then this pink on this side? I don't. I would want it to look really pretty. So I'm going to line this up right here along the edge. And I usually don't start at the corner. Okay, so just line it up. This thread right here, eventually it's going to pull through, but I like it just a little on the inside. I don't like the threads hanging out, so just get it on this side so it's underneath. And now we're ready to go. All right, close that. And again, if I wanted to make changes to how deep this was or whatever, I could. And this stitch on this right side is going to go right along your edge of your project. So here we go. Oh, I unplugged myself for our buttonhole. Okay, I'm going to put my foot control back on, and that way we'll be able to control that with our foot. Oh, sorry, I got to get over a little closer so I can see where it is. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, we're all set. You can see it's like, you plugged in your foot control. Yes, I did. All right, so let's start. Here we go. Now, I can make this go faster. You know, it's up to you, right? It'll sew pretty fast. You could see how many stitches that it's taking. So this is why it does take a lot of thread. So whenever you're doing something like this, be prepared. Make sure that you're going to have enough thread. Now, as it gets to the bottom, I want to slow down a little bit. And I want the needle to stop on the outside. So I'm going to let it stop right there. Now I can lift this up and I can turn the corner because my needle's on the outside, and just try to line it up right there as best you can. And what that does for you is now I don't have a lot of excess threads hanging out on the corner. If I have threads that are being problematic, just this little catcher right there is designed to scoop them into your stitch. Okay, now mine's pretty bulky. This is a quilt sandwich, not just fabric. If it was too bulky and it couldn't move freely, this is where you would adjust those settings and lower the presser foot pressure. Okay, and that would allow this to feed without any buckling. So I'm right down by the corner. I'm going to just watch that needle so he's on the outside, and then just lift this up a little and turn my friend. Okay, and then we'll start going. Okay, so pretty easy. And here, I'll show you this. This is like Speed Demon right here. It is going faster, but it is taking a lot of stitches. So that's really the biggest, most important thing is you need a lot of thread for that. So here we go. We're almost down to our end. And again, this is just a small project, but we want to make sure that we make it look pretty, right? Okay, so one more stitch, I think. So my needle will go backwards and go to the outside. Thank you. There we go. So just line that right up against the guide right there. The threads that are on the inside actually hook over. Oh, I'm a little far away. Let's get you closer. I'm sorry, you guys. We're going to come down so you can see a little better for this last little bit here. All right, so there's the little guide right here, this metal bar. And there's some little tines in there, some little metal tines that you're stitching over. And what that's doing is the threads are crossing those bars. And then when you take that away, that leaves a little bit of room. So it doesn't buckle or turn or pucker this edge. It leaves enough thread so it can still lay flat. And as it's feeding off, it slides off of those metal bars. So it's very, very easy to use this. And it does make a nice, pretty, clean edging. This could also be used if you were hemming something and you just wanted to make sure that the edges won't ravel, but you don't necessarily have a turned under hem. So again, we're right down by the bottom. So we just want to kind of slow down a little bit and get our needle to the outside. Oh, darn it. Let's see if I can press our restart button. And then we'll take one stitch to get that needle over to the other side. One more. It's going to go over. It's like 3 stitches on the inside. Okay, let's see if I can get it to behave here. Tuck it right up against there, and here we go. I was a little overzealous. Okay, so this little thread right here, let's cut that because we don't want him to be sewn in if we don't have to have extras sewn in there. I'll just cut him. And I'm just gonna sew a little bit over the edge just to connect the dots. So it's hard because I'm looking in and I can't see the stitches because I'm kind of far away, but here, I'll show you real quick. We're just gonna press the reinforcing button. An awesome feature I love on this machine, and it's gonna tie off. So when I press this, you'll see it's gonna start blinking. Mine is set for 4 reinforcing stitches, so it's going to take 4 tie-off stitches. If you wanted more, you can press it again. Once the tie-off stitches are done, the blinking will stop. What's important to remember, though, is when you're doing that, you do have to press the gas. I think some people think it's going to do it without you pressing the gas, but what it will do is finish the stitch, then it will tie off, and that's what you just saw right there. So now I can cut it. And I'll just slide it to the back, and then you can see right there, now I have this pretty little edge finish on there, and you can see there's a little bit more stability now on the edge of that piece. So that makes it nice and sturdy. So if I was going to put a binding on there, that way it's easier to flip that binding and get a nice, really even look. So I'll kind of tip it so you can see it. And of course, we did that decorative stitch. Now, we talked about a light woven and a heavy. So this is what the light would look like. And if you wanted a heavier thread look on here, then that's where you either could change your stitch length or you can use that heavier woven and it will put more thread along there. So those are just things for you to play with that are already just part of the machine. Okay. All right. So now we mentioned that we were going to do some adjusting real quick. And the next thing I want to share is some quick ruler work accessory things that we have. I'm going to go ahead and just change this to the straight stitch plate for ruler work before I change the thread. I'll use the pink thread that's already on here. So real quick, I'm going to raise the foot and press the button. When I take this off, if we're doing some ruler work, it's important that you have your screwdriver. So that of course comes with this machine. And I'll just show you, this is my little care package box here. I've got all my accessories from this machine in here. This way you can see it's got a lot of stuff. We got to scoot it over. It won't stay. So let's see if I can show you. Oh, look at all that. It's got a bunch of different feet, lots of quilting feet. It's got the guide. These are the free motion. It has the open and closed foot. It has the O foot, which is the patchwork foot, the 1/4 inch foot, with and without a guide. And then we've done the blind hem before. We showed that one before. And today we showed the M foot, which is the over-edging foot. And then this has got the rolled hemmer foot right there. There's a rolled hem foot. And then it's got the button sew-on foot, of course, the zipper foot, and the buttonhole foot, just like we showed you before. So in order to do some of this ruler work real quick, I need to really quickly take off the anklet for the machine, and we'll put the straight stitch foot on. Okay, so screwdriver, let's take that and get that off. So I think it's important for you to see the real deal about how we can maneuver things, how easy it is to do this. Like sometimes you have machines that have hardly any room and you can't even get this off. Your fingers are so crunched up. You saw how easy that was. Super convenient. So let's put our ruler foot on. The ruler foot is like this. It has this little hook on there, and that's where the screw will go. So just put it on there. Now we've used the sewing applications menu and we showed you 2 different features on there. And I want to put the straight stitch plate on. So I'm going to go back to the screen. Really quickly, I just will show you what it looks like. When we press the button to raise this, this is what's going to happen. Okay, so for me, I want to take this off and put the straight stitch on. Okay, and I'll show you where that button is just so you won't be wondering. Okay, and then it's a magnet and it just lowers itself down. So when we go back to the screen over here, let me show you what that looks like. Okay, let's get some light on there so you can see what we're doing. Okay, when you lock that screen, just like we did for threading, this is how we'll change that throat plate. This button right here will raise it up. So that's the button that I pushed. And now it says, hey, it's open. We already changed it. So I'm just going to let it seat back down. And right here, don't be afraid of notes like this. Please make sure the proper presser foot is attached. It's just letting you know that you put your straight stitch plate on. So you don't want foot that isn't a straight stitch appropriate foot. So it's just giving you a little heads up. Just close that. It's no big deal. Remember to close the screen. Just press the key to unlock it, right? Key locks it and key unlocks it. Now, notice really quickly, once we change that, now we see all of the grayed out areas. There's nothing wrong with my machine. It just knows that I don't have the zigzag plate on. So now it wants me to sew only the straight stitch options. So you can see I got some sewing options, including the triple stitch. When I go to the decorative, it only has the quilting option. And then we'll go here to this t-shirt again. So we already talked about a couple of things right in here. We could still top stitch or do some seaming, but we can't do that overedge stitching with this plate on. This is the quilting tab. So let's touch that. Patchwork, free motion, ruler work, straight stitching, sashiko, and hand look. Any of those stitching like applique that would be a zigzag is grayed out. We're going to go ahead and choose this ruler work setting real quick. And I have a couple of rulers and a cute little sample that we're going to make real fast. So Janome has a great ruler work sampler set. And here are two of my favorite rulers that are actually in it. This one, this really pretty shape, looks like a light bulb. And then this is just the straight ruler. Love it. Love all the lines. I can make any kind of straight stitch patterns that I want with ruler work. Ruler work is a type of free motion skill. So what's important when we set up the machine, you can see right here on the screen, medium and light. What we're looking for is when we put the fabric underneath the foot, we want to make sure that the foot is low enough that it's not going to have a gap underneath. So here, put your foot down, and can I move? So this is a perfect size. I can move, it's not creating any buckling. So I'm going to leave it on that medium setting. If there was a gap between your foot, like if you could put this under there, right? I can't. There's no space for me to even put the tip of that under there. So what you'd want to do is lower your foot if there was a gap. We always want the foot to be kissing the fabric. So real quick, I'm just going to bring my needle down and up here. And that way I can bring the thread through the foot. I also want to pick up my bobbin thread real quick. So because we cut it, it's a little short. So I'm just going to gently pull it up, and there it is. Okay, now we're going to show you something really quickly with this special foot. And here's the ruler. We need to put this on before we have the needle seated in place. So I'm just going to put that on. And now right in that little center hole, I'm going to line my needle up right at the dot and just get these threads out of my way. So right now, I'll just put it like this. I'm going to line it up right around the foot. And let me show you the alignment as well. I'm lining up the center line right here on this so that I can line it up on that chalk mark that I made. So here we go. So as I sew, I'm just going to keep the very edge of the foot touching the edge of the plastic. So on this side, I kind of roll my hand back to make sure it's out of the way there. I'm activating these little grippies. Okay. So wait till the needle's down and then just scoot over to the next line. And then each time, remember that you got to move the whole sandwich together with the ruler. Okay. This is something that, it's not super hard, but it does take a little practice, just like anything. Free motion, we all know that we have to practice that. So just keep it right against the edge there. So you can see that there's a little bit of space here, right? That this nice big flatbed on our machine gives us some room to do this task. Of course, I want some bigger space, so another optional accessory that's with this machine includes that extension table that's pre-made to fit this machine. So if you want that, make sure when you request your machine that you let them know you want the added accessory table as well, the optional extension table. Okay, so we'll just go around a little bit. I've got these little tails right here because it's hard to cut them because they're kind of under all of this. So I'm just gonna move them out of the way. And then once I'm finished sewing all of these lines, then I'll cut everything. I'm gonna show you something cool about our reinforcing button when we're doing our quilting. Oh, I shifted a little. All right, I was talking a little too much. So that might be a little wonky on that one. That's what happens. Now, right here, you can see I can line this up at the back right there. I don't have to turn it. The reason I often do is because the camera is in the front, so it makes it a little hard for people to see what you're doing if it's on the back. But imagine that you had a really big quilt. It might be hard to turn that if your quilt was queen size, twin size, something like that. So you're just gonna hold the ruler in place gently, and you wanna move the whole sandwich as you go. So here I'm activating the fabric and the ruler. I'm pulling both of them so they both go together. Okay. And then we just have one more leaf, I think. I'll show you. So I can tell because I have one on each of these petals, and then just line that up on this last one. And again, get those out of your way. Okay. Okay, and we're right back at the center now. And I'm just gonna take a few tacking stitches. So let me show you how to do that. If I wanna tie off, and normally with quilting, I want to move while I'm tacking and taking my micro stitches, I can press my reinforcing button. I'll come up just a little so you can see it better. This is the same button that we used before. It's gonna take 4 stitches. So I'll press it and the gas, and I'm just gonna fill in any little holes that are in my design. And I have a polyester thread, so I'm actually gonna do it twice. You need about 6 stitches for polyester, but this will give us 8. And then I can cut this and then we'll be done. So I'll just pull this whole thing out, and then here, I'll line this up to cut this bobbin thread. So needle down and up, and right there I can pick up my bobbin thread and I'll just tighten it up to the top like that. And now I can cut all these off. So here is our design. Look at how pretty that is. So that is the Janome ruler work set. It's their combined set. It's one of the older sets they have, but it has some really, really great designs in it. And this is one of the center motifs. It has some really cute borders. It has a heart, a straight edge. So if you're interested in that, when you call in for SMP, make sure you ask them about that. I'm sure that they can get that for you as well. That's not necessarily our featured item today, but I know they have it. So definitely ask for that if you have an interest in that, okay? All right, so this was the ruler foot, and I showed you some of our Janome tools to do that. And then I'm gonna go back just a little bit, and I'm gonna show you, we're gonna change our setting one more time. Okay. All right, and we're back on this screen, and this is one of those quilting features. So if I just press my t-shirt again, I can look at all of these settings and it's still on the quilting tab. So we're gonna go to this patchwork piecing, and we have 2 different areas that we can patchwork piece. This one is gonna show memorized piecing, and then after I show that, I'll just show you non-memorized, because people always are like, well, why would I need that? This has value, but it's not something that you always need. So real quick, I'm just gonna put some regular thread, regular piecing thread in. We don't want to piece with this heavy 40 weight because it's really, really, really fat thread. So we're just going to change it to just some nice, very lightweight. I think this one is 60. The machine is so easy to thread real quick, so it makes it really fast. And I also am going to have to change that foot to our 1/4 inch piecing foot. All right, so I'll kind of come out so you can watch what I'm doing. And I'll let you kind of see this whole thing, the threading and everything else. So this advanced needle threader, so we just mentioned it real quick before we do anything. I'm going to needle down and up. And what that does is it puts that needle in exactly the right position so that I don't have to worry about whether it will thread or not. I know it will. And then I got to grab my thread, which is a little further away. I've got to trip over a few things to get it. And I'm going to take this polyester thread off of here. I do like poly for quilting. It's not required, but I love it. And if you're a new free motioner or ruler worker, It's a little more forgiving because it's really strong. So let's put our thread on there. Okay, there we go. On the guide, and then there's a little hook down here. Okay, and now before I start threading, do you guys remember what we said before? Oh, sorry, I almost dropped you on your head. Let me tighten that up. That thing just went crazy. Before we thread, we got to make sure that we lock everything into position. All right, sorry, this camera is just being a little wonky. It's got like 2 screws and one of them got loose. It has screw loose right here. Lock that, and then here's our thread, and I'm just going to hold it as I start that threading process and just follow the guides. So right here, under the guide, and then the needle guide, and then the little alligator, and cut. And our needle's in the right spot, so no problems there. It threaded right up immediately, and then we went ahead and took the key off. Now we still have the straight stitch plate on because we're going to be doing patchwork, but we have to put our patchwork foot on. So this is the one with the guide, the O foot with guide, right? Let me see if I can put some more light on this for you guys, right? It has a little guide on this side. I love the guide, but not everybody does. Just go ahead and put your foot together right there. And now I'm going to put this back on. Okay. And then just as a quick reminder, always tighten up your feet with the screwdriver. You don't want that thing coming loose or anything. We're not trying to break it or anything, but we want it secure. All right, so, and then I've got a little magnet over here for pins. I'm just going to set that there so it'll be convenient. And then I'm going to show you, I've got a little stack of pieceables. So real quick, mine are pinned just to hold the front edge together, the leading edge, and then I want to show you, I'm going to sew and hold this center mark, right? Because these are all nested. So I've pinned like this, and I'm going to show you a quick tip about how to manage pins when you're sewing with your ruler, with your patchwork foot, and you've got pins like this. All right, so let's go to our patchwork piecing, and then let's get in a little bit closer so that you can see. All right. So I'm going to bring this a little bit further down because I do want you to be able to see much better when we're doing this patchwork piecing thing. Okay. All right, get everybody tight so nobody's moving, and here we go. So I lined up this front edge right here with the pin. So I'm going to put my needle down real quickly. Let's see where my thread is. Right there. I'm going to pull this thread underneath here so it's nice and long, and just put your needle down. The purpose of the needle down is I want to be able to push this right up to it so that the edge of the fabric is touching the needle. And then I'm going to sew so that I'm a few stitches off of this fabric right here. Let me just show you what that looks like on my screen again. Okay, we'll just come up. I try not to make too big of an adjustment here, but we got to scoot over. You can't see good. We have to see really good. Okay, so we're on this memorized patchwork piecing, and I'm just going to show you a couple things. See right here, it says this can be memorized. We're using our 1/4 inch. And then as I start sewing, I want you to just see what it looks like when I start sewing. So the needle's holding the leading edge right here. And as I start sewing, I'm going to get underneath the pin. And then look what it says. It says, do you want to sew the same size or a different size? So if I'm sewing along, I can use this memorized piecing. And that way, when I'm doing my 2 patches and it doesn't fit, then I can know that that piece is not the right size. So if I said, okay, then it would allow me to keep stitching the next piece the same size, the same size, the same size. So this can be really great when you're working with things like hexagons, different things that you need to know exactly how big the piece is. And I always usually chain off about 3 or 4 stitches so that I can cut in between the pieces. Now, that's pretty easy to use. I could hit OK. If I need a different size, I can just clear it and tell it that I need a different size. If I want to reset, this is a reset button right here. This will just let it forget what was there before, and then it's ready again. Now, we're just gonna do general piecing. So I'm gonna go to this button. It doesn't like that my needle's down. This is the general piecing button. Remember we said with a straight stitch, this quilt button is available. So this is our 1/4 inch foot. And what I think is so powerful to know about this M6 and the 1/4 inch foot, what happens with this machine is it moves the needle over. And what that means is that all the feed dogs are still actively engaged. Instead of just scooting it over and the feed dogs are still over there, this is moving it. So now all of the fabric is still being moved with all of this 7-piece feed dog set. So that is something that I absolutely love, where the needle is shifted over, and that lets us really get great fabric feeding. You'll see that in just a sec. So anyway, I'm right at the place where the pin is. So I'll just show you, we just talked about that. And I want to show you how I manage that. Let's make sure we're nice and tight. Why is that moving? There we go. Oh, it's got a mind of its own. It's not secure. Okay, there we go. It kept falling. There is a pin here and a pin right there. And what that's doing is that's holding it. And now the needle's there. So now I can take the pin out. Always good pin management right here. I had my needle up, so I got to move it down. And then I can just line up the rest of these so that they're nice and even. And now I can sew the rest of the way. So a little feature that we haven't shared yet, I'm going to turn on the pivot feature. And when I stop sewing with the next one, I want you to see what's going to happen. Okay, so here's my pin. I'm just going to put it right under there. I want to get so that the needle is going to be right next to it. And then just push this pin down a little bit. Once I take the first anchoring stitch or two, the pin is still in front of that, pull that out. Now, right at the front, all those pieces are lined up right together, right? So notice what happens when I stop sewing right here. We're going to get into this. I want the needle to anchor that connection where they're matched up, where they're nested. And once that happens, then I can take my pin out. And now I can sew the rest of the way. So that's going to help me get those really nice connections. So right here it's open. I can lift that up and line right up on the needle. And then take those first couple stitches. Then my pin can come out. And that way, right at the top, all those pieces are lined up. The edges of that are lined up. So just press down on the pin. I want to get right to the nesting. Then I can take the pin out. And here, this is already aligned, so I'll just feed that right in. You can see I didn't even have to hold anything. Now, let's just do maybe 2 more. I'll do them quickly. And I want to show you another cool feature of this machine with that. So right on this bobbin case, there's a straight line that I can also use to line up right here. You don't want to push your fabric over so close to the gate that it ends up curling up the gate like this, right? So there's a line right here, a visual marker as well that I'm using. And that really helps me get that perfect 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to push this down just to get under the blade right there. Once I've got the connection right there secured with my needle, then I can take that out. That prevents the seam nesting from pushing forward or traveling. So right now we've done a couple. I'll just show you, got a few pieces. Chain piecing is your friend. I love it. I'm addicted to chain piecing, right? So I would just sew hundreds of them like this, but then we'll cut this. And then let me show you this cool feature that my friend showed me. Thank you, Amy. I'm giving you credit. She showed us this in class. And why is it such a great feature on a sewing machine like this? A lot of times when you buy chain cutters, then you don't get the stability that you want, right? This is an actual cutting blade right there. So if I have one of those little chain cutters, it's really hard to hold the chain cutter and cut at the same time because this machine is so heavy, it's super easy. I can just go like this and then keep going until my hundreds of chains are done. And I'll show you why that matters. I got a little sample, a little visual treat for you guys that I'll put up. I got to move my lights so you can see. So this quilt that I'm working on, I got up on my design wall right there. Let's see if we can come up just a little bit so you can see it better. Isn't that pretty? That is so many pieces, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pieces to make this quilt. So when you're chain piecing and you need those precise marks by keeping your quilting connections, like between all of those, nesting all those seams, this is really a great machine. So I have literally sat here and I've pieced all of that. And then there's 20 log cabins. And I think there's more of the stars. I think there's 30 of the stars plus all the connectors. So you could see that this could really, really be a big benefit to have the awesome piecing features, the patchwork, the memorization, so many of the great features. So this machine is so powerful. It's eminently customizable. It works with a lot of different feet and features that you have available to you. So if I've piqued your interest and you're interested, Kyle, do you want to put up our information about the M6 for me? So I want you to call in. You can speak to the SMP specialist. Remember that I reminded you, I think that the AccuFeed Flex accessory is a really powerful accessory that's not included. So that's an optional one. And that one is, it's like dual feed, but better. It's better than that because of the way that the stitch happens and the 7-piece feed dog. So if you're needing something like that for bag making or something like that, that would be an important add-on accessory I would recommend. And I also really like the table, but there's many different accessories that you customize so that it fits your sewing style and your way. So I just want to tell you I'm honored to share this time with you. I know you have choices about what you might like to do. Kyle, I'll sit back down and just give me one more second to kind of just say hello to people. So we know that your time is valuable and we appreciate you being willing to share it with us. I hope that you found that there was maybe something useful for the type of sewing that you do and that you got a little bit more information about Janome's platform and how their machines work. They're really intuitive. They have a lot of internal settings that you can use to make the sewing the way that you want to sew. So it's more customizable for you, not just with the accessories, but the settings and the way the stitching happens. Everything is adjustable. There's default suggestions, but lots of ability to make it just exactly how you want it for the style of sewing and quilting that you do. So make sure that you go ahead and call in and pick up your new M6. It's such a great machine and such a great value. Thank you for letting me share this time. I'm going to have Kyle put that number back up and leave it up for a little bit, just to make sure that everybody can access that. But I'm going to sign off and thank you so much for your time, you guys. Thank you, SMP, for having me. I appreciate you guys.